Dear all, the students and the learning community. Here I go. Today I discuss about a important topic, right? That is emerging in the academia and also the job seekers in the current scenario. That is about the employability. It is employability. Now, before going into what is employability, what is other things, I'll first of all go into some of the important statistics. Right? I would like to quote. Now here, the India Skill Report 2024, though it's a year back, worth mentioning here. Now it reveals some improvement over the employability among young people, which has increased from 46.2% in the year 2022 to 50.3% in the year 2023, and the next year it has gone up to 52.3%. So we find that the steady growth. But then still around 48% of the young people are not employable, or we call them as unemployable. Now here is a survey, Economic Survey 2023-24 report, which states that 65% of the India's fast growing population is under the age group of 35. Okay? And it also states that about 51.25% of the country's youth, which come within this age bracket, are considered as employable. That means almost 50% are not unemployable. Okay? To put it simply, about 1 in 2 graduates are not yet readily employable straight away when they come out of the institution. But then when we compare the decade, the percentage has improved from 34% to 51% between the last decade, 10 years. Now here I quote a statement or news item from the Hindu dated June 11, 2025, which states that there is a mismatch between where jobs are and what students are studying. Obviously, it says a lot of things about mismatch between the students' preparation or the courses, the universities that they provide the degrees, and what the industry needs. Now NASCOM, okay. Now what it says. India is expected to create 90 lakhs new jobs in the digital and emerging technology by 2030. But fewer than 20% of the students are actively pursuing these courses. Now here another important, Professor Mr. M.S. Rao, who is the founder of MSR Leadership Consultants in India, who writes an article titled India's Employability Problem. And what he says? High standards of technical education have fueled economic growth on the subcontinent, but too many students still lack the vital soft skill. He is particularly stressing on the soft skill part. Further, he says, and I quote, there has been a welcome change in the mindset of the companies. Companies look for perfect blend of both soft and hard skills among candidates to deliver goods, services effectively to their clients. Now, Graduate Skill Index 2025, the recent one by Mercer and Metal, which reveals that only 42.6% of the India's graduates are employable, making a decline of 44.3% in the previous year, that is 2023. Now what is the biggest challenge? There is a widening gap between what employers need and the skill the graduates possess or have. The report particularly says one more thing, that is non-technical capabilities or abilities such as communication, problem solving and creativity are lagging far behind. This has made it harder for many fresh graduates to get employed or rather secure a job of their choice. This particular report, that is Graduate Skill Index 2025, further states that employers struggle to find non-technical talents. Only 43.5% of the graduates are employable in the field of sales, marketing, HR and business development. This is where most of the management graduates try to get into. These are the domains basically, that is HR, marketing, finance and also to some extent marketing, finance, HR and business development. Now emerging area is also IT. Companies are now looking for graduates who can learn, unlearn and adapt quickly. Now these things are also lacking in the students or job seekers, and that amounts to ultimately leads to employability problems. Then let us see what is employability. Now, very simple term, we can say that employability actually is the individual's readiness for the job market by developing a range of abilities and qualities. Now it is the ability of individuals to obtain and maintain a job and also build a career on that. Now employability has multiple angles or aspects. It not only deals with getting hold of a job, but also about those attributes and skills that enable the employees to be successful and scale up and build their career further. Now three things emerge out of this, what I said about employability just now. First, it is the ability to gain initial employment. Secondly, the ability to maintain employment, continuity part. They may take you in. If you don't have the employability skill, if you don't have the required skill, then they may throw you out. Right to hire, right to fire. Third thing is ability to obtain new employment. Now suppose you somehow don't able to continue the job in the organizations for either of the reasons stated earlier, then you should be able to find an alternative employment. That is also employability. That also speaks about the employability of a candidate. Now what is unemployability then? Unemployability is the job are available in the market, but the company is not ready to hire you. The reason being you do not possess the enough skills to do the justice to the role, right? Now this is where the concept of competency comes in. Let us see some of, briefly what this competency is all about. We in management, obviously, those who are students, those who are, teaching fraternity, we often, mention about KSA. What it stands for? Knowledge, skill and abilities. Now, knowledge, skill and abilities ultimately leads to some organizational behavior. That means your performance. So what is knowledge? Knowledge is the information developed or learned through one's experience, study, investigation. Then comes skill. Skill is the result of repeatedly applying those knowledge. Third is ability. Now this is an innate potential to perform. It is emotional, it is mental, and it is also physical action. Now all these three KSA ultimately leads to what? The behavior, as I said. Now behavior is what it is the observable reaction of an individual to certain situation, how he works, how he performs, what is the quality and quantity of his output. Now next we go into key skills and attributes that every employer will look for. Now when I talk about skills, as we all know, we divide it to broad two categories, hard skill and soft skills. Now today in this particular lesson we will be focusing on the soft skill part, which every or most of the employers are looking for, and job aspirants need to possess these skills. or attributes. And here I must say a high percentage of rejection by the recruiters is because of absence of or inadequate skill and attributes, which we are going to discuss here further. First is adaptability. What is adaptability? In a simple term, we can say it is the flexibility. It's a soft skill. That means you are easily able to adjust to changing circumstances. Okay? Let us take a few examples. Whether a candidate is willing to take tasks outside of their usual scope of work, or even step into new roles temporarily when the organization needs. Similarly, whether the candidate is prepared to quickly learn and adapt, say, not new software or new tools, new techniques. This is what is adaptability. In case the adaptability, this particular attributes is there, then employers will be more than happy to take you in, otherwise not. Next is analytical thinking. What is analytical thinking? Basically, analytical thinking involves analyzing a problems, then identifying the cause and effect relationship, rather establishing a cause and effect relationship, and then finding a solution for that. Take for example, an HR manager should be able to analyze the reasons of employee turnover, which we call high attrition rate, and then should be able to suggest measures to check it, not based on hunch, imagination, guess, based on data analysis. Third is commercial awareness. Now, recruiters are more interested, in particular in business and industries and corporates, that the candidates should have some commercial awareness. What it could be? That means the candidate must have a basic understanding of how the industries and business function or work. Take for instance, how the business make money, what the customers want, what problems one face, adopting a particular strategy, likely to face, what is the market trend currently, plus likely impact of a change in the government policy on the economy, on the business. Next is communication skill. This is very essential for everyone. Communication skill, as you know, it's a vast area. So I'll try to put it in a very capsule form, very short, brief. I'll list out what are the common communication skills that the recruiters are interested or they try to probe within a potential candidate. It could be active listening, not merely hearing, clear and concise writing skill, persuasion or negotiation skills, EI or emotional intelligence, building interpersonal relationship by showing appreciation for the co-workers, for the boss, for the subordinates. The skill to resolve conflict, which are common in business situations, day-to-day transactions. Giving and receiving feedbacks could be another element of communication skill that the candidate need to possess. Next comes creativity or creativity skills rather. Now, how can you assess whether somebody has a creativity skill or not? The interviewers conduct the interview, they conduct psychological tests, and they can read your mind. There are psychometric tests also. So basically, creativity skills is being open-minded, being curious, willing to explore unconventional areas. Now, take for instance, in a marketing and sales, suppose you are applying for a marketing and sales job. So obviously, what are the skills, creative skills that your employer needs? You should be able to design a new ad campaign to sell, for instance, a new model car. Now, if you are not creative, you will go adopt the same traditional way of marketing a product in the print, through some banners, posters, billboards. But a creative person or creative candidate, he can go for alternatives. For instance, let's say, make the car the main character of a miniature action movie. Okay, that will be very much attractive, very much impressive for the viewers. Decision making is another skill which every employer would like to, or every recruiter would like to have in the candidate. Now, how do you explain what is decision making skill? It is the ability to select the best possible option from the alternatives. Now, the employer or recruiter expects managers to make excellent choice based on facts, based on data, okay, rather than intuition, as I said earlier. Now, decision making is a part and process of everyday daily activities. So, obviously, the candidates should be able to take effective, right decisions. Right? Let's take an example of. Now, there are different tasks a manager needs to undertake. Then he or she should be able to, differentiate which task is most important that need to be completed first. And also he must be able to decide certain tasks which can be ignored for the time being, maybe postponed, or maybe totally out of the list. Saying no, this is also one of the most very critical area where people are hesitant to say no, but then you must be ready to say no in case the situation demands. And these skills are assessed through interview techniques, right? For instance, BEI, which stands for Behavioral Event Interview. So they can find out whether you are able to take effective decisions, whether you have been able to take effective decisions earlier or not. Leadership is yet more another quality with this attribute, which the candidates need to possess. What is the leadership? Obviously, the quality of being able to influence and motivate in order to complete some task, create some unity among the team members. Now, as a leader, what are the qualities necessary? A few I can share here briefly. Patience, decisiveness, empathy, positivity, ability to mentor, timely communication, active listening. You should be a very effective listener first in order to be leader. We all are always ready to speak, but then nobody has the patience to listen. Negotiation skill is another aspect, or a soft skill rather, which the candidate need to possess. Negotiation can take any form. Let's say determining a contract terms and conditions, salary and benefits. If you are getting into the HR role, obviously you should be able to negotiate salary and benefits. Now, next is persuasion skill. Now, persuasion and negotiation are some way linked, but they are not the same, right? So, ability to influence others through verbal and non-verbal communication is what we call persuasive skills. Now, this skill also the recruiter tries to find out. One more thing which the candidate need to possess is this teamwork. See, now you may be recruited as an individual, but then ultimately you are put in a team to work. You may be individually a very good player, but you may fail in a team or a group situation where you are supposed to coordinate, help, support, and then achieve something common goals. So teamwork or team skills could include volunteering for more responsibilities, providing support to other team members, celebrating with the team members, again listening. Time management skill, this is very essential. Everybody has 24 hours and you have to use them most effectively, most optimally. So, a candidate or a job seeker need to have the skill how to manage the time. He must be able to schedule daily tasks according to priority, conducting a time audit, how he or she is spending the time. He can also use the tools and techniques suggested by experts like Eisenhower matrix, where you classify your task into 4 broad categories: 1 important, 2 not important, 3rd urgent, and finally not urgent. Another way you can manage your time is identifying the time wasters. We nowadays, age of technologies, we often very use of this social network. So what we do, we waste a lot of time. Another aspect which the recruiters look into, and we as HR managers or managers in general try to find out in a potential candidate's personality, job fit, and the organism fit. Personality, organism fit. The candidate should fit into the personality requirement of the job. If you are an extrovert, you better fit into marketing. If you are introvert, you better fit into, say, finance, accounting job. Okay, sometimes you don't fit into the job requirements, but then they take you in. If your personality synchronizes with that of the organizational culture, so either of these two are very essential. Most cases, both are essential. If you are trying to get into a particular role, particular job, then your personality should be accordingly, compatible. Otherwise, you may be rejected. Now, before I conclude, here I would like to put forth what Bill Gates emphasized as something which is employability skills, okay, which adds or which holds a long-term value for the organization. He lists out 4 basic skills that a candidate need to possess: creativity, innovation, emotional intelligence and human connections. You should be able to develop network, problem solving and critical thinking. If you are critical thinking, then you have to be creative. Sometimes people put you some questions to find out how creative mind you possess. Adaptability and long-term learning. This is yet another skill or attribute rather, which the potential recruiter often try to locate in a potential candidate. Now, these are some of the things I would like to highlight as part of this particular video, but we will go into, after discussing or listing out what skills and attributes the employers try to find in a potential candidate for the job, particularly those who have professional and let's say technical qualifications. In the next video, I will be discussing about how do you develop these skills and what are the roles and responsibility of different stakeholders, what the candidate need to do, how the organization or the institution where he is pursuing a professional course, what role they have to do, and also beyond. So, for the time being, thank you.